Good afternoon, friends. Before we get started in this journey, let's say, what I really wanted to talk to you about today is I will be at New Jersey Collectors Con on Sunday. This coming Sunday, I will have the link to the website of New Jersey Collectors Con, so if you're interested or in the area, want to stop by, I'll have a table there. If you want to stop by, swing by, say hello, I'll be there. Some of the Realm of Collectors guys will be there, and it's just one big happy Jersey fam. And a Baltimore guy. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Forget-Me-Nots favorite friend. The reason why I say that is because it's been a long time since I've talked to you guys. Even though I've been hitting you with a video every single day of the week, I had those videos done and loaded, ready to go, so that I could have a little vacation. But unfortunately, during the vacation, this came in, or maybe fortunately, we'll see. And I feel like I needed to definitely get this up for you guys as soon as possible. So while we've been seeing each other every day, in a way, it's also the first time I've been able to have the opportunity to talk to you guys in quite some time. So let's take a look at this first, because the problem is that I said this broke on me last time. Truth is, it didn't break, it's just poorly designed. So I know you've seen videos out there where people are taping it and everything else. That's not what's going on here. There's no need for tape, no need to be taking it apart. But I can see how somebody would tape it. Shout out to Lenny, I think even he taped it, a buddy of mine. But what happens here is this thing is in multiple pieces, right? And not just the big 3 chunks, but this piece is a separate piece. And then this little knuckle here is a separate piece. And that's what keeps the chain in. So when you I haven't done any tape on the inside, I haven't taken anything apart. When you pull the thing apart from here, all of the chain will come out. And you'll be like me, surprised and irritated. Oh, I get my new toy and what? However, all you have to do is insert the chain back in, pull from here, leaving the knuckle on, and the chain stays intact. So it's not broken. That's the good news. It's just, in my opinion, poorly designed. This, look, it wants to come now. You see? It's just not the best way to have gone about it. I don't know why they couldn't have spared a little glue and just glued that piece on, but I'm not a toy designer. So that's the good news. Let's get to this figure. Bot-wise, all together, standing amongst one another, I think they look pretty good. Don't have any real complaints. They're definitely kibbly, and it still comes across looking at them individually, but I mean in individual modes rather than combined mode. But I gotta be honest, it has a good feel about it. It really and truly works. There they are in vehicle modes, and I gotta be honest, I feel like this is a lot less effective. I feel like this kind of looks like a mess. It doesn't seem cohesive, and the amount of finishes and details and stuff doesn't really shine through, and it makes it look like a very plain set, so to speak. To each his own. Let's get him prepped. I just want to say, not asking for any kudos, but it's 2:30 in the morning, and I'm making sure to shoot all this stuff so I can get it out to you guys. But don't worry about me. I'm fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to combine them. We're going to check the stability of the legs, and then we're going to add these if need be. If not, then we won't. Alright, so let's set our arms across here. And let's go ahead and see if we can... So I had to do that off camera. And what you have to do is really just force it. It doesn't feel like... It feels like you need to slide it in. You don't. You just need to apply enough pressure without it all falling apart on you to force it into position. And once it's there pretty solid. And then you can make sure that these like arm pieces are tabbed in there and there. And we can tighten that up a bit later, but we gotta deal with this lower section. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna try to combine the legs, because that is the hot topic, right? So Alright. And two legs. And they're pretty wobbly. Now, it's not really preventing them from standing or anything, but they're pretty wobbly. So, what we're going to do right now, before this thing even gets any further with the arms, is we're going to try one of the upgrades, okay? So I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to try to swap out this piece here, and I will be back. Now, I have this apart, as you can see, and I just want to go on record and show that I think the replacement piece and the old piece are the exact same piece. Like, they line up in every way. I'm not showing you, am I? They line up in every way. So, I am going to say that to say this. I advise you not switch out the pieces because I don't think it's ultimately worth it, because I think they are the same. Now I'm going to put the new piece on here just in case to see if there's any difference. So now I have the new joint in and the washer that they advise being on the upper lip. It's just so you can see. I don't want you to see my private messages. But right there, so right where the little clip is, right there, which is not going to be easy, especially with these digits. It's on. So we'll get our piece. We got to get this gray piece up and out of the way as much as possible. This wasn't all the way in. It actually still sucks. Now, I think I have a fix. All right, but what we're gonna do, well, I'll tell you what. Just to be thorough, we're gonna take this one off, and I'm gonna put a washer onto this one, which is the stock connection, and see if we get the same results. That'll be a pretty decent, I think, control for our experiment. Be right back. Now we're gonna connect this one. It actually just makes the connection worse. It doesn't. Alright. I'm going out on the limb and saying that this is a failure. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the washers. And I'm going to put tension on it, because that's the problem, is that there's no tension. So I'm going to clean this back up. We're going to try again. We're going to leave this intact. Give me a minute. I've kind of got it. So this is the loose one. This is the solid one. A buddy of mine told me about a video from some YouTuber overseas. I haven't been able to find it, but I'm still looking. We're going to undo this. We're going to undo this top part here. We're going to try to make sure we get this bottom piece plugged in. Now, rotate this around 180 and open this up to kind of give yourself room in order to, you want to bring this flap up and then hinge this one down so that that keeps tension on this piece. And that's a much sturdier combiner. One arm two arms. Let me get them cleaned up. We'll have our first impressions real quick. Sorry, my camera cut out there. Not the most impressive thing I've ever seen, but you know, he's not prettied up yet either. So we're going to get him cleaned up. We're going to take a look at him. The head is attached due to the way that it transforms, so you can get a little bit of an up movement, but it reveals the bottom face, and that's about it. However, you can disconnect it from the back piece, and then you have a far greater range of motion, including a little bit more up, a lot down, side to side. It will then be fine. But I had to use a screwdriver in order to do it. But it is available to you. The waist swivel works fine. No problems there. For the shoulders, they cause a bit of an issue, even though they're not the strongest ratchet. And as you can see, they don't really, like, the clicks are too wide, so they don't really hold out where they should. But they're not the worst. The problem is that there's a moving joint here, and then there's a moving joint there. I'm sorry, there's a moving joint here, and there's a moving joint there. So what happens is you end up, when you're trying to articulate it, you end up moving it from the wrong joint, and it's just a frustrating experience. But the ratchet will hold, but the teeth are big enough where there's all this give in each click. Not the best, but okay. It would definitely be okay if that was the least of his problems. So we have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbow. That gets you a really great range, all things considered. Wrist swivel, and then the thumb is on a ball peg at the base knuckle, and then it comes out to one hinge and then two hinge. The fingers are each articulated on their own individual knuckle on a hinge. So that's all fine and dandy. And then the hips, as you can see, is already kind of getting this TFC splits on. But put him like that, put him more of an A, like a straight up stance as opposed to a wider A stance, he does okay. We have the ratcheted universals for hips, getting you out to there. Holds pretty well, must say. We'll do that one too, sister. That one, not so much. Individual results will vary, but I imagine that it's going to be similar across the board. So these pieces, I forgot to flip this little hip skirt out here. These pieces flip up and allow you to get really just a couple notches forward. So not the best there either. And then you can get back, but who really needs to get back? Knee ratchet, get you really 2 clicks. To be fair, less than 90 degrees. It's because this tire, which you might be able to raise up. Let's see. But you can't get another click out of it, really. And then for the feet, you have both the front and the heel on that same ratchet joint that we've already looked at. So you get a foot swivel, which is weird, and you get basically the rocker is on a swivel here, so you just have to rock both. And then you get a tilt up and down that's ratcheted. So I can tell you, guys that give glowing reviews, I think they're going to have a harder time with this one than I am in terms of how they get their work done. So here's the other arm, and same articulation. This ratchet is almost a little bit too much give. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hopefully you can. But this one almost has a little bit more give than this one, causing for a more frustrating experience overall. And then you have the bicep swivel. A little stiffer on this one, but it's fine. And then the double jointed elbow, and that's fine. Hand works the same, so that's okay. One of the problems, as you can see, when you go to articulate it and move it around and manipulate it and whatnot, is all the panels that make this tank, and that tank to be fair, but this one's the one giving me more problems right now, they come untabbed and unaligned, so it's going to be a constant game of cat and mouse for you to get it sorted. Now once you got them posed, you fix the tabs, you're fine. Just in the sense of functionality, I feel like it has to be addressed. Real quick before we move on to scale, I just want to show you that the gun, these 3 pieces combine and form his gun, and they fit in his hand just fine. I haven't closed the fingers so you can see that he holds it just fine. So that's a bonus for this fella.
Size comparison wise, you're going to find that he fits in pretty perfectly with the kind of combiner scale that Warbitron initiated, which was slightly bigger than previous TFC figures of the kind of similar scale. You know, so you're going to find that that's about where it fits in. And it, to be fair, fits in like a champ. And just for a point of reference, there he is with a Maketoys Fans Project kind of more traditional chug combiner scaled figure, and you know, far too big. And lastly, just some various Masterpiece scaled figures and then one chug figure, so you can see how he sort of fits in.
Final thoughts, where the rubber meets the road, where I earn my $4 a week, or whatever it is. Here's the thing. It's pretty much a train wreck. It's not that it's not salvageable. It is. If you want to stand it in a standing position, it'll be fine. Let's talk about the problems. There's a number of things that don't solidify as well as you would like them to. The shoulders, the way that the jets are clipped in and hang off, and especially the wings, it's just a constant game of cat and mouse. The arms are proportionally too long. I'll probably lower or bring up my forearms and negate my double jointed elbow, because I can't stand the monkey man syndrome. I can't stand it. The torso and pelvis pieces actually work pretty well, so to speak, and their connection is extremely solid. The problem is the connection to the limbs. Now, where this thing really falls apart are those lower pieces, those lower two joints, those lower two legs. There's so many panels. There's so much space between the connection point and the bottom bot that it has the shakes, and it's hard to solidify the leg. It's just hard to get it to work, and it's not fun, and it's frustrating, and it's one of those things where, like, you touch one thing, you fix it, and 10 more things fall apart. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of situation. I feel like this is one of their better combiners, and unfortunately, it's still shadowed by most of its competitors. It's just kind of inefficient, sort of across the board. If you want it to stand there and look pretty, it'll definitely do that. Especially if you really take the time and make sure that every panel is nice and solid and tight. But it's just, man, it's not $600. If you got to mess with this thing, there's no way you'd spend $600 on it. Now, once again, I always have to say this, because if I don't, other people will. I know that you can get it off eBay a couple weeks after its release date for less than that. And that is fine. But the truth is that it retails at $100, so that's what we're talking about. And to have that retail price and to end up with this product, when $600 also got you Toyworld's Devastator, when $500 got you Warbitron's Bruticus, there's just no excuse for this. Now, I know that people think I'm the doom and gloom guy, that I hate everything, and it's just not the truth. But to critique this piece and not mention these problems is doing you a disservice. I think that we will see people not review this just so they don't have to say something negative about it. And that's not an attack on anybody. That's not what everybody does. Some people don't want to be negative. I don't want to be negative. But I want to be honest. And the honest to goodness truth here is that this is not on par with what we are seeing in third-party combiners across the board today. It's pretty. And it's an obscure character that most people have wanted. So you want to touch it. But I got news for you. It's dangerous. It's like this birthday ice cream my daughter had one time.
Say to you, play. Blow your candle out. Say, no.
Real quick, I just want to say that on my cloth backdrop, his feet are very secure. However, on my wood shelves, that he does start to do the TFC splits a little bit. Not tremendously, but a little bit. See if I can illustrate it. A lot of it. I chose this pose for a very specific reason. And that reason is that this is how he will be on my shelf, and he will be fine. He looks the part, he does his job standing in this position, he's just not the most functional combiner. But let's talk about the positive, because there are some positive elements. Materials-wise, maybe the best thing TFC has put out. Sculpt-wise, arguably one of the best things TFC has put out. All the connections, now let me be clear about that. The connections, meaning the ports and pegs, in terms of the limbs going together, are solid. They're not falling apart. Even the legs, which are wobbly, little wobblers, aren't coming unpegged. They're staying secure. And that's a good thing. That's what we want, right? He does have a presence. You know, and you see I've shortened the arms a bit to make it a little bit more proportional. You lose range of motion, but his articulation is kind of weak anyway. So in a stoic pose, shorten the arms, better the proportions, more impressive looking bot, you're fine. I also want to note real quick that he does have a thigh swivel. I forgot to mention that, but he does have one. To be fair to the articulation, the truth is that ultimately I want a set of combiners combined, and I want a set of combiners in individual bot mode. This set will more likely be broken down into bot mode eventually. When will that come? Anyone's guess. But it lacks what I'm looking for in combined mode, and I know that now. However, for the time being, he'll be fine, and I definitely think he's the best option. This is not an option for me. If it works for you, I'm happy for you. But it's not an option for me. It's unacceptable. This is more acceptable, but not quite what I'm looking for in total. The big problem with this guy is that he's $600. And he doesn't feel like $600 when he's combined. Now, here I'll admit, he looks pretty impressive. But the closer you get to him, the more you mess with him, the more you start to see how flawed he is. And those flaws really sting at $600. Now maybe you guys have money coming out of your ears and you just can't wait to get rid of $600. And if that's the case, I strongly recommend this guy. If you're okay with having a possible stand-in, or this might be the best we're getting for quite some time, and you're okay with flipping it down the road or whatever, you just want him to look cool on a shelf, he'll do the job. He's doing it now. But there are some things that are inexcusable. The whole leg thing with the separate parts that are the same parts with the washers that are completely useless is just redonkulous, let's say. And the shoulders cause a bit of a problem because of the amount of moving pieces and having to keep everything pegged together properly. And that goes for both the chest piece and the shoulder pieces. As you can see, let me see if I can't get you. That shoulder piece right there has come unpegged, the top part of the jet canopy. And that just kind of happens with this guy, you know, while you're trying to move him around. It comes down to intention in your collection. If you're okay with possibly having these guys in bot mode, strongly recommend. If you're okay with having them displayed in a stoic pose until something better comes along, strongly recommend. If you're trying to make one definitive Liokaiser purchase for all time, I can't recommend this guy. Okay? And I think you guys have seen why. And I don't think I've been overly critical, and I think that I have the stripes to be critical. I've bought TFC's Hercules. I bought TFC's Uranus. I bought TFC's Defensor, whatever that was called. I've bought every single combiner they put out, with the exception of their Predaking, and I looked at their Predaking. I reviewed their Predaking. I'm familiar with their Predaking. So I have looked and handled every single mold, combiner-wise, that they have released. And I can tell you that this is one of their better ones, but it's far from $600, my friends, especially in today's market. It's a competitive field out there, man. And this has Warbitron written all over it in the end game. So I'll say that too. It's time to step it up. You have a lot of third-party companies knocking stuff out of the park these days, and the remains of failed third-party company carcasses are littered all over the street. Now I know that TFC is a very big company overseas. They have the resources to make this thing better. And I feel like somebody should have put this thing together before they put it out and realized, oh wait, we got a leg problem. Let's go ahead and fix that before we start releasing pieces. And then somebody's probably like, nah, we'll get it with a washer. Don't worry about it, Joe. Maybe Joe should have worried about it. Oh, real quick, before we go, one more size comparison. Not bad, right? Looks pretty good together. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care. Now I gotta find something to do with all these things.